Kemper versus Helix, take 4,652. This has been an impossible video to make. Hi everybody, I'm Chris, CT Legacy. I had a guy this morning comment on Facebook that he's sick of hearing me say it works great in my garage, but not at the gig. Which, by the way, we're back in my garage. To the guy on Facebook, if you think for a second that I'm not sick of saying works great in my garage and not at a gig, I'm the one who spent $1,800. This has been the most frustrating piece of equipment I've ever owned. Truthfully, the most frustrating piece of equipment I've ever owned. As a 4 to 5 night a week gigging musician, the most frustrating piece of equipment I've ever owned. I have tried. I've put hours and hours and hours and hours and hours into trying on this Kemper. I've invited people to my house who are Kemper people to set up my Kemper and get it just like theirs, I guess, or whatever. So, Kemper versus Helix, Helix versus Kemper. This is all, I think, personal preference, okay? And I don't think that I know this to be personal preference. I think if you're a Helix guy, you're gonna have a hard time being sold on a Kemper. If you're a Kemper guy, you're gonna have a hard time being sold on a Helix. I think that's an easier sell, but I understand there's two camps here. It's Ford and Chevy, it's whatever, and there's Ford guys and there's Chevy guys, and you know, it's gonna be hard to convert them. I get that. So I'm gonna give you the best information I can give you. Okay, the Helix, and actually let's just talk about physical form. Take how they sound away. Let's talk about the physical units themselves. Helix is better. Helix is a physically better made unit. Just by looking at it, you can see it's got, 12 little screens here. It's got a giant, bright, colorful screen here. It's got touch-sensitive buttons. It's got an expression pedal built on, another little screen up here. This is a better built unit. I don't know how anybody could logically deny that, but like I said, take the sound away, the Helix is built better. It feels, it feels like a tank when you pick it up. This feels like your RP1 that you had in, 1994. The touch sensitive buttons, awesome. Lights around the buttons, awesome. Physical form, Helix wins. No argument. I won't even humor anybody's argument on that. The physical factors of this unit are better. Now, sound. That's where we get into a preference. And let's go to physical on the Kemper a second too. The screen is garbage on the Kemper. It's absolute garbage. However, the screen on your Fender Hot Rod Deluxe is garbage also. They're very similar screens. Even though the Fender doesn't have one, the Kemper, I think I'd like it better if it didn't have one too. This is a junk screen. I have 45-year-old eyes, and from where I'm sitting, I cannot read a single thing as far as parameters go. I can see that it says Carbon 100 Butler Vi, but I can't tell you what any of these buttons are triggering. I can't read what's in my chain, and I'm literally, I am 24 inches away from the screen. It's unreadable from here. Kemper, it has not touch sensitive buttons. There's all the stuff you see on the Kemper, all this black is a sticker. Like, it's a physical vinyl sticker. No different than the sticker I put on here, except for I put this one on with intent to peel it off and put something else on. This is supposed to be permanent. Now, the reason I have a problem with that is I'm pretty careful with my stuff. Okay, I'm a pretty conscious of, this costs a lot of money, so I better take care of it. This costs a lot of money, so I better take care of it. However, in my car, I must have set like an expression pedal or something either on it or by it or whatever, hit a bump and it hit the thing. The sticker has now got a big old dent, tear right here that looks horrible. That does not happen on this. I'm just telling you, if it did, I'd peel this off and put a new one on, which I've never done, by the way. This is the one I've had on here now for probably a year. And so just the physical everything, the Helix is better. It's a better physically sound. Guys, I cannot take it away from the Kemper. I'm going to use your favorite expression. In my garage, this thing feels like a real guitar amp. Your hands respond. I'm a better player. I'm physically a better guitar player on the Kemper than I am on my Helix. Not by a ton. Okay, if we're going to call the feel on the Kemper 100, I'm going to call the feel on the Helix 94, 95, right in there. I mean, it's close, but this is definitely got a better feel to it. Tones. So now I'm going to get into what my biggest problem with Kemper is. It's real easy to make a guitar amp on here. You just go and find the one you want, punch the button. But dialing in the effects to make them sound good is number one. It's a process. Like it takes a lot more effort to just get to edit an effect than just rolling to an empty spot, hitting a button, dialing an effect, and you're done. This has got time involved in doing it. So, like I said, I'm a giggy musician. I play 4 or 5 nights a week. You know, very seldom I play 3 nights a week, but usually 4, sometimes 5 nights a week. I have to sound like Eddie Van Halen. I have to sound like George Lynch. I have to sound like Aretha Franklin's guitar player. I have to sound like Bruno Mars. I have to sound like a million different things. Not that I do it because I'm pretty good at working my Helix, but in the beginning I wasn't. And I could go, I need to sound like George Lynch, punch George Lynch into our custom tone deal on line6.com, and there's a million patches that say George Lynch. Then you got to cycle through good, bad, indifferent, whatever, close, not close, whatever. But there's, you know, I want to sound like Joe Bonamassa. Oh, well, here's a million Joe Bonamassa patches. I want to sound like ZZ Top. Here's a million ZZ Top patches. So that's really easy on the Line 6 to sound like someone else because someone's already made it. I've made a lot of them. There's a lot of my patches available on Line 6. There's no such thing on the Kemper. If you want to sound like Steve Vai, you can't punch in Steve Vai into the profile catalog, that the rig manager that they have for Kemper. You can't punch that in and find Steve Vai listed. It doesn't do it. There's, you know, like big hairy profiles or big hair, I don't know, BHP is what they start with. Their profiles are like one of maybe 3 people that I see put stuff up that says Zakk Wylde, Ozzy, No More Tears. Otherwise, it's just an amp. If you want to sound like Nuno Bettencourt, you got to know what he plays. Okay, he plays a Randall whatever, and I don't know if that's what he plays, but I'm just saying. You know he plays that, so you go and find that amp. Then you got to start trying to dial in all your effects, and hopefully you come up with Nuno Bettencourt. But, you know, I did it. It works. You can get that process, but it's, for me, it was 40 minutes probably of tinkering, trying to do whatever. Whereas if you want to sound like Nuno Bettencourt on the Helix, like I said, go to Custom Tone, type in Nuno Bettencourt. There'll be probably 500 patches that already say Nuno Bettencourt. So then you cycle through those and say, all right, this one sounds the closest, and it rarely, and just so you know, when I say go through those, you never have to go through 500. You cycle them by rating. There'll be 10 of them that have 5 stars. You click on those 10. You go through those 10 and go, yep, this one sounds the closest to me. Rarely do they sound exact because different people have different equipment, different speakers. But that one's close. So now I'll dial it in right there. You make a couple tinker adjustments, and seriously, in 7 to 10 minutes, you have a Nuno Bettencourt patch. 40 minutes, you kind of have a Nuno Bettencourt patch. You hope. And then you got to walk away and come back because it always sounds different after you walk away and hear it a second time. Then you tweak it again, whatever. I have buddies that are Kemper gurus. They love their Kemper. They play out with them every day. So I know that Kemper is capable of doing what people want it to do because they have a huge following, and it's it's a great unit to copy. I actually copied a Helix patch that I want to do one more video before I return it. I actually copied my distortion from my Helix to the Kemper, and truth be told, it's a better version of my Helix distortion on the Kemper, but the effects just, I can't get to match up, because that's what I was actually going to do. I was just going to remake my patch on the Kemper, but at that point I'm spending $1,800 to build something that sounds like my Helix, and that didn't make sense to me. So the Kemper, I'm sure, is awesome for some people. There's no doubt in my mind the Kemper's a great product for the people who want to be Kemper people. But like I said, I had my buddies come over and set it up, and they're like, there you go. And they played it, and they're like, man, that sounds great. I played it and immediately went, that sounds horrible. That's not gonna work. That's not my tone. That's not, and that's another thing. I'm glad I said that. My tone, okay? The Helix is my tone. I can tell you right now, there's not another one out there that sounds like my tone, except for three guys, I guess, that have my tone. I gave them my tone, and they were like, dude, this is awesome, blah, 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 whatever. I get told all the time how awesome my guitar tone is at my gigs. This is my sound. No one else sounds like this. It's me. The Kemper is very hard to develop your tone. You're just going to sound like another Marshall, another Soldano, another whatever. I couldn't establish a my tone with this. It was better to just go, yeah, well, this sounds like an amp. And that was difficult for me. Other people are going to argue that and say, no, man, go ahead. That's your deal. You have that prerogative. If you like this better, use it. For real. I just tried to give people a side-by-side comparison in my experience. And my experience tells me, in order of importance, I would put the Helix on top, I put the head rush second, and I put this Kemper profile in a distant third. Difficult to use, and that's the one thing that the head rush has going. I still think the Helix stomps all over the head rush, but, and again, personal preference, doesn't have to be your opinion, that's just my opinion, is the head rush is second to the Helix, but I think it's leaps and bounds above the Kemper as far as physically using it. Because like I said, I have to sound like 20 different guitar players a week, but I still want to have my tone and then those sounds, and that's easy for me to do on the Helix. It's not easy for me to do on the Kemper. So I've only got like another week and a half window before I can return this Kemper. So I'm gonna make a couple more videos, and then I'm definitely returning it. It's not something that will ever be used in my world. So that's my follow-up to that, is everybody's got their own deal, and my deal is not the Kemper. If it is your deal, use it, man. It's awesome. I cannot deny that the tones that came out of this sometimes sounded incredible until I took them to a live use. In the mix, I was uncomfortable. Like, it made me sweat. Like, I'd get nerved up to the point that I was like beating sweat on my forehead because I thought I sounded stupid. I hate that. That's not my thing. My thing is I want to sound good right out of the box. That was the Helix for me. Everyone else's experiences may vary, but that was mine. So, again, awesome unit for the people who like it. It was fun to play with. Like, I did enjoy my few weeks with this thing. It was fun to tinker with, but I don't trust it. I don't like the tone. I don't like it. This one has been my workhorse for 2 years. Of course, it's gonna sound better because I've had it for 2 years. I can in 10 seconds I could blank my screen right now, and in probably less than a minute, for real, less than 60 seconds, I could dial in a patch that I could go on stage and play tonight and know that it's gonna sound just fine in the mix. It's gonna do what I want it to. It's gonna have a boost. It's gonna have, all the clean, distorted, a lead, and another rhythm. I could do it in less than a minute because I know the unit. I'm comfortable with it. This one, I couldn't do it in, I probably seriously got 70 hours into this unit, and I still don't have it. 70 hours, no kidding. The most frustrating piece of equipment I've ever owned. So, sorry that there's no plan on this video. I will make one more video with it, I promise, before I send it back. but that's where it's at today. It is going back. This is not the unit for me. And, you know, I think I'm an okay guitar player. I'm not going to say I'm the best, but I'm a pretty good guitar player. And as a musician who plays out almost every day, this is a clear winner to me. A head rush would be a clear second to me. And then the Kemper would be like a distant third. Now, I will also say, if your option is, if you're that guy, like a lot of people use this, I think, as it's intended, where they have a 5153 sitting in their garage and they don't want to carry that 100-pound amp to the gig. So you profile it, you put it on here, now you've got your 5153 amp, and they actually run their pedal board just like this was the amp. They have their own pedal board, they run it in, they do whatever, and this just serves as an amp. It's not supposed to be the processor, the effects processor and everything else. A lot of people use this as their amp. People talk about, you know, Mark Knopfler and all that stuff. I actually did a lot of research on his. He does not use this as his effects box. He uses it to mimic his guitar amp, and then he still runs his pedal board at his feet, just like he always did. I think in that situation, this probably shines immensely. If you don't want to carry a guitar amp, but you still want to run your old analog pedals, this is a great way to go. I don't want to do that. Like, since RP1 Digitech, I don't want to do that. I started using all-in-one, and then the pods came out, and call me the artificial kid, man. I like the digital stuff. It's my favorite, and it's getting better and better, almost indistinguishable from tube amps. That's the way I want to do this, and that's the way I've always been doing it, and this is my choice. So that's it. Like I said, I'm gonna do one more video playing some stuff on it eventually before I take it back. And other than that, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Damn it, this thing works 60% of the time.